What is up, everybody? Welcome to Shoot the Gap, the IDP Fantasy Football podcast here at Fantasy and Frames. I'm your host, Jorge Edwards, and with me we got Justin Taylor, aka JT, and back with us for another division preview. We got Steve Hungarter from RPO Football and Fantasy Six Pack. Steve, buddy, how are you tonight?
What's going on? Fun fact for you guys: 22 days was our first NFL preseason game. I am excited. Went by too quick, did it not?
It did, and the fact that I think this is the first time in many years that a preseason game has been played in July, because technically, I think the 31st is the Hall of Fame game, if memory serves me correctly.
And that's a good point too. And I'm going to ask JT that as well. As a coach, I kind of missed the 5 preseason games. That gives you time to figure out who the kick returns. Now everything's kind of accelerated to get to the season, huh?
Yeah, it's. I understand player, like if you're a starter, I understand like that's too many games. Like you're like, ugh. But in reality, back in the day, you would play preseason game 2. Starters would play the first half. Preseason game 3, they'd play almost the whole game. Preseason 4 and 5, you were just like, it was like camp battles. Like who's going to win and make the team. I understand them locking it down a little bit, but I do tell you, I think it's a little sloppy at the beginning of the year because they basically almost play the starters none. At this point, they play the starters one half, if anything. Right. Some vets weren't even playing in the preseason the last couple of years, like not at all. They weren't playing any preseason games. So for me as a coach, I would like the time there I can see, we know who the starters are. Come on, for the most part, like who's starting. So you see that in practice already, but you want to see the guys that are like the fringe guys and who shows up under the lights. Because as a coach and as a player, there's guys, I could tell you this all day long. There's guys that look okay in practice, but when the lights come on, dude, they ball out. They look so much better on game day than they do in practice. And I've had guys look great in practice. You put them in the game, it's like they forgot how to play. And so, it's a little bit different on the pro level, but I just think, as a coach, someone who's an assistant coach for a long time, having that extra time to like see how those guys perform and get that extra film on them in a game, I like it. Now, as a fan, I know the fans were like, we're paying full price for how many preseason games? Like, I know that was like an issue for a while, and I know a lot of the vets didn't like all the games, but as the guys that were on into the bench trying to make the team, I definitely think, that was more beneficial for them and the coaching staff.
This time of year, and even the first couple games of the season, we see that as defensive fanatics as we are, the defense is ahead. You know what I mean? Until the offense can catch up, because it's all accelerated, to your point.
Well, in the offense in the NFL especially, just the language. Every coach, the way the cadence, how they say stuff, how they call the coverage, you're calling plays like you're not calling 22 power. It's like 37 different things on every play. And so for new players on a team, it does take some time, where on defense, it's a lot easier to call a defense and you can figure it out. So you do usually see these defenses a little ahead of the curve, especially if you see new coaching staffs or teams with new players. The defenses tend to be way ahead at the early part of the season.
Wow, we got Rhett Manuel in the chat starting us off strong here. JT Brew, more like JT Too Cute. Am I right? I love it.
Rhett, I want to say, Rhett, I love that name. I don't know hardly anyone named Rhett. My cousin, his name is Rhett. And I remember him growing up and everyone called him Brett because like no one had ever heard the name Rhett and people like didn't know what it was. But I laughed.
Rhett Erickson. The Bucks. Yep. Remember him?
Exactly. And and like very few people knew that his name, like knew the name Rhett. And I laughed because I took him on his college visit to Vanderbilt. He's a genius, was valedictorian. Took him on his college visit to Vanderbilt. One of the reasons he got in, the guy that looked at his application, his best friend growing up's name was Rhett.
Well, how about
how
that?
Random is that? That's how the universe works sometimes. The guy was like, I got to let this kid in. His name's Rhett. My best friend growing up's name was Rhett. And, of course, that's the most random name ever is Rhett. And so a little tidbit there. So, Rhett, I always appreciate when I see his name because I've rarely seen any other Rhetts out there.
He says, you should see here the butcherings I've gotten. Reet, rat, rot. That's awesome.
I am not surprised by that at all.
Folks, head over to fantasyandframes.com. Check out our IDP Dynasty followers and risers articles. Joe Harlow has been cranking them out left and right. We got some more coming your way. We also have our IDP division previews starting next week with the AFC East. So we got a lot of stuff coming your way, as well as our Dynasty redraft rankings for IDP over at fantasyandframes.com. And tonight's show, we're going to be covering the NFC East. We're going to give you a must, a bust, and a sleeper for every team in the division. Before we get into that, let's talk about the Fast Draft app. Folks, head over to Fast Draft app, whatever service you use, whether it's the Apple Store or the Android Store or whatever. Download the app right now. Use the promo code FRAMES when you sign up. You get $50 matched, up to $50 matched on your initial deposit. You are obviously watching Shoot the Gap, so you're a defensive junkie already. They have this game called the D-Up game, where it's basically a 6-round, 20-second timer best ball draft. It is
fast.
It is great. You waste very little time. You get in, you draft your players, you get out, boom, you enjoy the rest of your day. Or if you're a junkie like us, you do another one and another one.
If I may, when you're in those drafts, the best thing you can do is set a queue, however you say it, up, set it up, because these things go fast. And I'm a fast drafter. You know that, Jorge, as well as you are. These things go super quick, and you're going to miss your turn trying to type in Logan Wilson's name,
Yeah, exactly. It is tons of fun. Again, use the promo code FRAMES. You get up to $50 matched on your initial deposit. Not to mention, like, the user interface, like to what you were saying as far as like setting a queue and whatnot, really easy to use. You're not fumbling through different steps on the app. It's literally point click with your phone, with your finger on your phone. Very easy. They provide top of the line security encryption to make sure all your financial information is secure. We all know how that is a crazy risk these days. Whenever you do something with your money online, that's nothing you have to worry about here at Fast Draft app. They have other games besides IDP that you can play from. It's so much fun, so much best ball, so much opportunity to have fun. Again, use the promo code FRAMES. The Fast Draft app, draft faster. And Steve,
Jorge, if you want to be boring and do regular offense, I guess you could.
Yeah, you could. I mean, we'll let Rhett and the other guys on Fourth and Frames, which will be covering the AFC East preview on offense next hour, talk more about those games when they do their Fast Draft ad read there. But before we get into that, Steve, you got a promo code for something called Ultra GM, which we were talking about on the AFC East podcast. Can you tell the folks here on this episode of what that actually is?
Ultra GM is for us junkies, us diehards, of us degenerates. It's pretty much, you're going to pick a team and you're going to get their salary cap, their roster. It's up to you if you want to trade players, move players, make moves. You're going to get their offense, their defense, and their offensive linemen. And their offensive linemen are going to count for scoring as well. So this is a whole new innovative way. Ultra GM, it's called. They're doing a promo now. For $30, you're going to buy a team. You're going to get a 32 team, and then you're also going to get a 12-team competitive team. So you can get 2 teams for $30, and you're going to get to build your franchise however fit. We're doing a promo code now. If you type in Hunter, you'll get $5 off. So that's $25 for 2 teams. You can't beat that. And then here's the kicker. There's all these nuances that they're trying. When you draft at the end of the year and you're getting your draft picks, you're not getting where your team placed. You're getting what that real team did in the NFL. So the value here is, if you think you're smarter than a GM, or you just like making moves, or you like making trades, or maybe you think you can do your salary cap better than Howie Roseman of the Eagles, I don't know. Give this a shot, because this is cutting edge. And Jorge, we said it earlier in the other show, I don't know anywhere else where you can play offensive linemen and get point scoring for them. So this is the next level for me. I'm going to start playing in a lot more of my leagues in Ultra GM. And like I said, the promo code Hunter, you type in Hunter, you can't beat that.
Dude, I got to get John McGlynn on that. Old school offensive lineman. He'll be all over that. He'll love that old lineman look.
Big nasties.
Love it. Mag says, is there prize money involved in these leagues? Is this like one of those where you put in a deposit and you get cash back, or is this more just for the love of the game?
Oh, yeah, there's prizes all around. To be honest, this is our first. I'm going to have him, if you want to check out the RPO football show, I'm going to have him on my show, I believe, tomorrow, and he's going to give you a rundown. this is our first look at it, me and Jorge. So again, this thing came out early July, so we're on the cut. We're like NASA right now. We're putting one into space. This is the Apollo 13. We're the Apollo 12. We're before the 13.
I was going to say, let's not do the 13. That didn't end well for the.
Exactly. We're the Apollo 11.
They didn't land on the moon.
Too much. Yeah. I don't want to give too much specifics because we're not the spokesman per se, but yeah, it's going to be all in the site. You check it out, and like I said, just for the love of the game, I'm like JT. I get tired if I see an 8-team 1 QB league. I've been called a snob before. I don't want to play in it. I can tell you how the top 150 are going to go. We were talking on the last show, our Scott Fishbowl drafts right now. You win those leagues in the middle of the drafts. That's where you get those picks. So that's what I do. I would rather build a team than actually play the team. We were talking about that with Madden. I'll sit there for hours just building the best roster I could, and maybe I'll get a game in. But this is where you're going to do that. Ultra GM. I'm excited for it. And I'll have more information on that show if you want to check it out on the RPO football show.
I'm pumped to check out that show. I play in every type of league, so there's not leagues I don't play in, but I will definitely not add new leagues that are like the exact same as like 10 other leagues I'm in. I'm like, I'm already in like 10 leagues like that. But if it's something new and different, that's my favorite thing about fantasy football. And I tell this all the time. I want to be in a league where it's totally new strategy in every league. If I'm in every league and everything is the exact same strategy, what's the point? What's the point of being in a bunch of leagues if every way is just do the exact same thing and you can win, or whoever gets the best draft pick in this area wins? I want it to where I can do crazy different stuff. You have to think differently, to be able to win a league. So I love this idea. I'm totally going to check this out. Steve, I'm going to watch the pod. I want to hear what you guys say about this because I might have to add another league, which, don't tell my girlfriend. I might have to add another league to the mix because this is right up my alley, man. And we've all, us degenerates, like you said, Steve, when you get in a league, whether you take over an orphan, whether you decide you're going to try to do a slow build, man, nothing better than when you take that team and you build it all the way up to a championship. It's awesome. I took an Orbit team in a league like 6-7 years ago, and me and my cousin are co-owners of this team. We've been building this thing. So this is how our team fell apart. Quick story. Andrew Luck, retirement. He was our number one pick. Retired in, I'll say, like a week after our draft, and we took him. Next guy we took, Antonio Brown. The disaster that became the Raiders Patriots mess. Like, our team was just in shambles. And we were already taking over an orphan doing a team. We've been building this team, and we finally made the championship game last year, lost. But we're right there. And like we didn't make the playoffs for like the first 6 years of the league. We finally made the semis and then finally made the championship the last 2 years. And I tell you what, we might have lost the money every year, but man, the accomplishment we feel like turning this team around from just being absolute garbage. Yeah. And for me, it all the way back, it's so much fun.
For me, what makes me want to stay in the league or not stay in the league, it's got to be activity. I got to have trades. I got to have moves. Like, I want to trade in April, May. That's what I want to do. So that's why this is very appealing to me. I chose the Bucks franchise, and the reason I did that, not that I'm a Bucks fan, but they have so many assets. I can trade Jalen McMillan for a third and get I want to make moves. So I took a team that I know has some top heavy and IDP appeal, and I can kind of build my own roster. But yeah, I want activity. I don't like boring leagues, so that's just me. But yeah, to your point, this is how we build it. It's how we bring fantasy football to that mainstream, and we can still play our GM mode,
Well, let's play some GM mode right now and get into players that we should have or must have who are potentially busts or sleepers for people in their IDP leagues this year in 2025. And let's start off with the New York Football Giants. Steve, start us off, man. Who is a must for you for the Giants?
So I have two musts, and my first one isn't as obvious as probably the one you guys are going to think I'm going to say here. And I'm embarrassed to tell you guys, this is a player I usually try to fleece off of owners in my leagues. There's that one guy in every league that's trying to get a player, because if he's on a roster of an owner that I know he's just looking at box snaps, he may not see the breakout. And by the way, that's a huge mistake anyway, if you're just looking at box snaps and you're not looking at the metrics. But the guy I want to talk about here is Tyler Nubin. He's coming off his rookie season, and he's exciting to me because he got hurt halfway during the year. So let me just talk about him a little bit here. Nubin finished second on his team with 98 tackles. 57 were solo. He had a low missed tackle rate too, 9.4%, 50 stops. He did all this, the 98 tackles in just 13 games, guys. Let me say it again. 98 tackles out of a safety in 13 games. He didn't play the rest of the year. He was going to break out. So if you're going to pick up this player as a must-have, this is when you get him, because if somebody's just looking at the season, he was all right. And a lot of rankers have this wrong too. I have him as a tier 1. Before the injury, he was well on his way to being a household name. He actually recorded, Jorge, 3 consecutive 12-tackle performances against the Panthers, Bucks, and Cowboys. So he was on his way to being a fringe DB1, DB2. He just got hurt. And one thing I pride myself on, I write an article weekly on the Fantasy Six-Pack. It's called The Safety Dance. It's where we record all the box snaps and this and that. This guy's a box defender. This guy's always in the box. And, given what we have in New York, I mean, you got a good defensive line, but they kind of let the linebackers out there to get ran over, right? This may be a huge opportunity to buy Nubin on the low.
Do you play Men at Work's Safety Dance song as you're talking on the podcast?
Yeah. So the intro every week, I kind of change it up. It's like, we could dance if we want to. We can leave that world behind. But if you can't tackle, you're no friend of mine. Yeah. If you look at the article, I tweak it every week, but it's the same intro. I just change a couple words around. And, Joe Bond loves it. He's like, oh my God, this has so much personality. And then I'll put the box snaps, and then I'll write about, the shifts. And it's not always box snaps. Sometimes I'll do slot corner because I get bored. And sometimes I'll do the musical chairs. Because remember the last podcast you were talking about the Dolphins?
Yeah. That's
like a 3-way battle right now. How cool of an article will that be? You got the rookie trader, you got Ulafano, whatever his name is, and you got your guy, Ashton Davis. So that's what I do with that article. I kind of put a mix mosh of safety dance,
So for those out there who are starting their content creation journey in the fantasy football space, or you've been doing it for a long time, for the love of God, when it comes to writing articles, put personality in your articles. Do not make it dry. I can go to ESPN, Yahoo, or wherever else and read dry content. If you're not one of those sites, set yourself apart, put your personality. I put sarcasm, funny gifs. Wait till you see my IDP Riser and Servassier Dennis article coming out soon. Like there's Jorge personality all over that article. Put personality.
So not to throw anyone under the bus, but we have some of our esteemed friends that worked for a site that are running AI articles. Have you ever read those? Those are the worst. I was reading one and it said football can be played with both hands. I'm like, did you check what the robot said? We are in. You know what we are? Remember the movie Terminator? We're set. This is the beginning of Skynet. Right now.
Yeah.
You got ChatGPT right now. Get some personality out there. Get some flair and put in your article. That's what I try to do. So thank you for saying that, Jorge.
Yeah.
You got to have a little bit of personality or it's not going to work. What did Oscar Wilde used to say? We live in an age of unnecessary things becoming necessities. And that's what it is. Don't let technology take over. Write with your feather pen and I put my soul into my work, as you can tell,
No, you have to. And it makes it much more of an enjoyable reading experience. Too many people are so concerned with like, let me be super formal and let me this. Like you read this, you read an article from me, you get good information, and you also can tell a smart ass wrote this. And that's me. I'm a smart ass. And I pride myself on that. You know what? Sometimes I can be a funny smartass, and I can definitely be a self-deprecating one. So if I can do that and have some fun with it, and you enjoy reading it, so can you, folks. But anyhow, I digress.
I want to say, I love that Steve came out with a DB there. That's phenomenal.
Right?
I love it.
I love it. I was doing this, getting closer to the screen.
What did Rocky say with the Russian Ivan Drago? If I can change, you could change. I could change. I could put a DB in here.
I love it. Newbin is one of my favorite players. I was pounding the table for him last year after the NFL Combine, where he did not put up spectacular numbers and he started falling for everyone. And I'm like, this guy just plays football. This guy is he knows how to play freaking football. And he was falling down draft boards because they're like, oh, he doesn't run a 4.4. He doesn't have a 40-inch vertical. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, watch the film. The guy has great anticipation. He knows the game. He was my safety one, bar none. When he got to the second round last year, and I know people are down on safeties in general in drafts, I was like, he's going to be the steal of the draft. And the Giants took him, and I'm like, this guy's going to be an absolute stud on the Giants. I love the landing spot. He was one of my absolute favorite players. We talked about it last show. Cole Bishop for the Bills was my number 2 right behind Newbin to bring that back. But I thought Newbin was great. I thought he's underrated. I'm with Steve. He is an absolute buy right now. You have to go get him because people still are not. They're not on him yet. He's really good. He's one of the next best guys. I'm telling you, there's a chance by this time next year, when we're talking about next season, where people have him in the Kyle Hamilton range. He could make that jump. He could legitimately make that jump. You got to get on him now before it's too late.
So in one of my IDP only dynasty leagues, not only do I have Jaden Hicks, who I know is one of your guys, JT, I also have Tyler Newbin, and I'm like, yes, I feel very happy with this.
Dude, I would be so pumped with those two guys. I'm telling you, I love this safety group of second year guys. I think they're just ready to explode. I think Bishop, you saw Bishop in the playoffs, played a ton. Hicks in the playoffs played a ton. Newbin, not in the playoffs because the Giants suck, but he was awesome before that. So, I mean, this second group, even like Bullocks from the Texans, Bullard from the Packers, I think this safety group, second year guys, highly underrated, and now's the time to pounce on these guys before everybody else is on them.
100%.
So the playing devil's advocate with Newbin, I mean, he doesn't really give you splash plays, but he gets all the tackles. You know, he's the box snap tackle guy. So if you're playing in like a big play, big 3 scoring, you might want to like push back just a little bit. But that's what he does. For the leagues we play in and he chases tackles, that's all you need. You're going to get a little mini linebacker on the field. And again, I have him, lower end tier 1, just like the next guy I have as well. I think the Giants have another tier 1 must-have player as well for different reasons.
Well, don't hold back on that, folks. Tell us who your next must-have is here for the New York Giants.
So my second player, and this is probably the one that most people were going to assume I was going to lead with, it's Brian Burns. We're going to push back just a little bit of the Brian Burns hype because most of the time you'll see him DL8, DL9. That's kind of high for a player that, he's always in your D1 conversations. It's kind of high considering he only eclipsed 1 8-sack season his whole career. He's only had 1. But the reason I put him as a must, if you can't get the Max Crosby, Myles Garrett's, TJ Watt's role, you can't get those elite top 7, he's in that next batch conversation. And every year, this guy, if you look at his stats, which I just pulled up, take away his rookie year from 2020, 9 sacks, 58 tackles. 2021, 9 sacks, 50 tackles. 2022, 12.5, 63 tackles. 2023, 8 sacks, 50 tackles. Last season, 8.5, 71 tackles. So again, he's a must for me because every year, minus his rookie year, he's a bankable floor for me for 8 sacks, 50-plus tackles. That's a back-end DL1 for me in most leagues. So I will jump on Brian Burns. He's not the top tier, but he's in that tier. He's after those guys go.
Love it. JT, who's a bust for you for the New York Giants?
I hate to throw it out there, but with the moves they've made and with the drafting of Abdul Carter, I tell you what, I'm out at Kayvon Thibodeau, especially at cost. I mean, at this point, does he really play DN? Do they move him inside? If you look at his stats for Fantasy Pros last year, the guy, I mean, it was bad. He was 84th on Fantasy Pro, scoring 6.8 points a game, only 81 points on the season. He was, 4 times owned as much as 10 guys, 20 guys in front of him on the list. And it just gets more talent on the team. I think the only way that he really, to me, ends up being a guy I want is if he gets moved inside and plays like a 3-tech and is rushing on the inside and counts as a defensive tackle, and I can play him in leagues where I need to start a D tackle. That's where I would want him. At this point, I want Burns, I want Abdul Carter, I want Dexter Lawrence, I want all those guys over him. He's getting drafted way too high for the production. He's got name value in the fact that he was drafted really high, but the production just has not been there for him. And I think Abdul Carter is more a thorn in his side than people realize. I really do. Thibodeau, they might, because he's a vet, he might get the early snaps, but I think Carter takes over this role pretty quickly, and it's going to be Burns and Carter on the outside. I think Thibodeau, the only way he's going to make his money is they're going to have to move him inside. He's going to have to be like a 3-tech rushing over a guard. That's where I can see value out of him. But right now, until that happens and he gets adjusted on like MFL and RSO and other sites to a defensive tackle, to me, there's so many other defensive ends I'd rather have, especially at the cost. There's guys you can, absolutely steal late for nothing over what he's going for. I'm just not buying the hype anymore on him. I just think he's in trouble. I really do. To me, he's a trade candidate for the Giants. I think there's a chance they move him.
We mentioned him on the Buys and Sells podcast. The only thing is, you're not going to get anything for him right now. He's an all-time low. So I would wait for that one game, week 1, week 2. He's good. One thing about him, he's good for like a double sack game, whatever. Wait till you get that, cash in and get out. But yeah, his stocks are plummeting fast. So I agree with you 100%.
All right, let me give you a sleeper for the New York Giants here. And it's crazy because I was looking this up just to confirm. When looking at both cornerbacks and safeties combined from 2024, this gentleman was the defensive back 16 overall. I'm talking, right up there with Derwin James and Budda Baker and Jesse Bates and Julian Love, Brian Branch. I'm talking about Drew Phillips, slot cornerback / nickelback for the New York Giants. And I say this specifically in cornerback specific leagues, not just DB leagues overall. But even though I say that, the guy stands up pretty well per advanced metrics here among cornerbacks and safeties per PFF. When looking at just the defensive rankings for cornerbacks, he is the cornerback 19 per PFF in run D. He is the cornerback 13 in defensive stops percentage versus the run. He is the number 7 overall cornerback. He's number 10 in coverage, number 21 versus the run. Again, this guy was this as a rookie. Now entering his second year. I think he has more upside. I'm reading the private chat comments, Steve, right now. I'll get to that in a second. I'm sorry. You made me crack. All right.
Sorry.
Anyhow, Drew Phillips. Definitely somebody who, as a rookie, just outperformed everybody. I think even with the addition of Javon Holland as a coverage guy in the back end of the defensive backfield, I still think Drew Phillips has plenty of upside there. The fact is that he plays a lot of his snaps, whether in the slot, obviously, but the second most snaps in the box, helping in run support. Very efficient as a tackler. Again, in cornerback specific leagues, you want these Swiss Army knife defensive backs if you're playing a cornerback specifically. Drew Phillips, he's my sleeper here for the New York Giants. Big fan of him. Let's go to the Dallas Cowboys next. Let's get into a must here for the Dallas Cowboys. JT, who is your must?
I think this one's just an easy giveaway. It's Micah Parsons. I mean, he's the guy you want. There's some guys I like. I love your sleeper, Steve, coming up. I just want to say, I really wanted to talk about it first. I was like, I can't steal the thunder from Steve.
There's so many sleepers to choose from with the Cowboys. I was like, which one do I go with?
I know, and that's what I think. I think the Cowboys, outside of Michael Parsons, is a team full of sleepers. Yeah. But Parsons he's the hammer. I mean, it's just the way it is. He's the hammer. Here's the thing the Cowboys need. They need someone to put pressure on from the other side. Parsons is getting mauled. He's getting mauled, and he can't get home because he's getting no help on defense. They've got to give him some help this year. We know the talent's there. If you have him on your team, you've probably been slightly disappointed the last couple of years, not because he hasn't played well. He just hasn't got home and got a ton of sacks because, again, he's not getting a lot of help. He's getting double teamed. He's getting triple teamed. They're all over him. I think they're going to have to figure out ways to use him a little more, they're going to have to get a little creative, I think, with Parsons this year. But I do think there's a ton of sleepers on the team. I think he is the clear cut, like if you're taking a Cowboy and you're going to spend the draft capital, like it's Michael Parsons, bar none.
So let's tie that into one of Steve's. Let's instead of going to the bus right now, let's go to the sleeper because for the defensive line here, Steve, because this rookie, I too I'm getting good vibes from. Tell us the people about your two sleepers here for the Dallas Cowboys.
So I have two, and I'll start with the rookie. The rookie's name is Donovan. I'll make sure I'm saying it right.
Ezaraku.
You got it. Yeah, he's a really promising rookie coming out of college. He's one of our top players. What they were looking at with the defensive line. In college, he produced 16.5 sacks, 20.5 tackles for loss. He earned the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, the Ted Hendricks Award. They don't just hand those out. But what I like about him is the advanced metrics. You know me. He finished with an 83.6 against the run. So he can pass rush and he could run. And you know what he can do well? He could penetrate 1.7 tackles for loss. If you want to look for, just for the audience at home, if you want to look for an elite edge or potential for an elite edge, look at pass rush win rates. Look at quarterback pressures, hurries, QB hits. Look at tackles for loss, because what's that saying? I can penetrate the backfield, getting 1.7 a game. I'm just hitting the running back or the guy in the slot. I'm just not hitting the quarterback yet. But you ready for this? The guy has a 25.8% pass rush win rate. You can't just make this stuff up. He's going on the Cowboys, and here's a further argument to strengthen my point. He's going on the Cowboys. He looks like a backup. You know, a lot of my sleepers are backups in the middle of a camp battle. He's got guys in front of him like Sam Williams, who's injured. He's got journeyman Dante Fowler. Now, I know people are thinking Fowler's the starter, and I don't want to waste the whole podcast dragging Dante Fowler. You can go ahead and look at my tweet on Twitter. I wrote this up. The data supports Fowler. He sells his team out. He sells out for sacks all the time. He thrives pressuring the QB, and he's sort of one-dimensional, but he'll leave those guys out on an island for a run. Eventually, and this is kind of a hot take, eventually they're not going to want to deal with that. Cowboys are going to get frustrated, especially with their woes. They're great, but, their defense has a lot of potential great sleepers, but they're horrible against his run defense, finished 29th. They're going to want to have guys like Fowler that can do both. So, in layman's terms, that's who I'm banking my money on. Even in these rookie drafts, when the elite guys come off the board, I'm pushing Fowler up after DL 7, 8 with the potential of being one of the leaders in this draft class.
No, I love that. I love that.
Steve, I was going to say real quick, I love what you're saying here. Here's where you can steal him. People going to IDP are going to look at depth charts, and we've talked about this. Currently on our lads, he is the third left defensive end on this unit. There ain't no freaking way he's the third guy on this unit.
And Fowler's coming off that high season too, so people are thinking it's Fowler's job. It's not that easy.
Yeah, and they got Sam Williams in front of him as well. Nah. I do like Marshawn Keelan Nealon,
Yeah.
Marshawn Nealon from last year. I do think he is sneaky good, but I actually think both those guys are better than Fowler, to tell you the truth. So I like this. I think he's a really nice steal. I think he's a real nice value right now. For a guy who went in the second round, I don't think he's getting enough buzz. I really don't.
He's currently right now with the number ones in camp. Now again, it's early, you know what I mean? But just something to look at. He's a guy you want to mention sleeper, you know, he's definitely sleeping on most people's leagues right now.
Nice. Who's your second sleeper here for the Dallas Cowboys?
Most of us that play IDP, we know Jack Sanborn. We know his skill set. He's a run defender. That's what he does. PFF grades him 70.5 run defense in 2024. This team's going to need to stop the run. That's going to be their Achilles heel, if you will. Sanborn spent his entire career with defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus, so he knows that coach because that was his head coach with the Bears. So I'm thinking early on, because there's a lot of quagmire, if you will, a lot of Family Guy reference, but there's a lot of quagmire on that team. You got Sanborn, who's the solid run defender. You got Murray, who's been up and down his whole career. And you got Overshown, who's coming off an injury. I'm thinking Sanborn can fill that Eric Kendricks type role last year that Mike Zimmers gave him. So he's a sleeper. It's an afterthought. He's working in these camp battles. But again, Dallas has several players like that. But I'm highly interested in Sanborn.
Love it, JT. I know. You
I
love
freaking love Sanborn. I freaking love Sanborn. Mike, I got shout out to Mike Sutherland, my buddy Mike Sutherland, huge Bears fan. So. Mike Sanborn's his favorite player. He's so mad that he didn't get played more for the Bears because he was the third linebacker and they usually only played 2 linebacker sets. I think Sanborn, if you look at this linebacker crew, I think Sanborn is clear and away the best linebacker on this team. I mean, I really think he does. Eberflus being there and the coach that's familiar with him, even though he didn't play a lot for that coach because the 2 players playing in front of him were making crap loads of money and he had to play those guys. I think Sanborn wins this job. I think Sanborn ends up being LB1 on this team. And if you look at the stats that Eric Kendricks put up as a pretty old player that was definitely past his prime, you tell me Jack Sanborn can't put up those numbers plus. I think this is I think Jack Sanborn might be the sleeper of IDP this year. I really do. I think he might be the overall number 1 sleeper. He absolutely, if he wins this job, I think there's a legit shot that he finishes top 15.
And look how deep he is on the depth chart. I'm looking at our lads right now. They got Murray, Overshown, they got Mark LaFau in front of him. Yeah, it's
Overshown.
I wouldn't be scared of any of that if I was Sanborn.
Murray. What is Murray doing? Liavu, no. I mean, dude, we saw him last year. Like the metrics are awful. Sanborn is. I think Sanborn wins this job. If he doesn't win this job, it's a travesty. I think for me right now, he's the guy. If you're going to take a shot on, if he's somehow not on your waiver wires, if he is on your waiver wires, go get him, spend money on, get him now, because he could end up being a league winner in IDP. Because I really do think that he could have a monster year for this Cowboys team. I mean, look at this division. They want to run. This division wants to run. They want to play teams that want to run. You got to have somebody to stop the run. Sanborn is their best run stopper, bar none, of any of the linebackers on this team.
And much like Zagaraku, he's right now in camp. He's starting with the ones, and he's wearing the green dot right now. So there you go.
Yep. I love it. I did. Me and Steve were on this on our show a couple weeks ago. We were just all over Sanborn. I was just like, every waiver wire searching, hoping he was and I was spending whatever I could if I could get him if he was out there still.
You got to be an architect in IDP. That's why I love IDP. It's like chess, not checkers. You know what I mean? You got to be an architect. You got to build your house. These are the off-season moves you make in May, June, July, and they pay off for you, you know?
I love all this, and I love the fact that you just casually glanced over my bust here, which is a good sign, right? Kenneth Murray, last year's second worst run defender, linebacker per PFF. LB 36, and fantasy points per game using Fantasy Pro scoring. Competition with DeMarvion overshown, and I know we just said let's not look at depth charts and read too much into it, but the guy who's coming back from a blown out knee is ahead of Kenneth Murray. That should tell you all you need to know as far as what the Cowboys think of Kenneth Murray. Kenneth Murray is he's a guy. He's a guy for IDP purposes. He's a guy. I'd rather put in more of an investment into DeMarvion Overshown than I would with Kenneth Murray. Now, Overshown is not perfect. He's got some flaws in his game as well. But again, last year was his first his first season playing in the regular season. Because if you remember 2 seasons ago, he tore his ACL versus Seattle in a preseason game. And had he played for the entire length of the season last year, I think you would have saw some tremendous improvement there from him. But again, like I said, he got that knee injury again last year. But he, for all intents and purposes, all the reports have Overshown being the guy who's starting week 1. And even if he doesn't get up to speed,
is he going to make it back this year?
He is.
There's talk he is. There's talk that he can do it. So, but again, to Jorge's point, what do we have there? We got Damone Clark, guys like that. Like what else is there? Kenneth Murray too. I just looked it up while you were talking because I was interested. He struggled his whole career. Like in the 5 seasons, he has a 55.0 PFF overall grade. I don't know where you went to school, but 55 is not good. So
yeah, except for the fantasy footballers who like to say 55. Okay, never
yeah.
Mind.
Unless you're Sammy Hagar, 55 is a no-go.
Exactly. All right, let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll go with my must-have here. For me, it's Zach Bond, LB2 in points per game in Fantasy Pro scoring, LB4 in tackles per opportunity, LB5 in total tackles with 150, LB4 in solo tackles, PFF's LB1 overall linebackers in 2024. Number 1 in coverage, so he has that 3-down roll. 15.7% tackle rate with only a 9.8% missed tackle rate. Of course, I like those missed tackle rates to double digits. And the Eagles just signed him to a 3-year extension in the offseason. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's not going anywhere, and he should definitely be somebody that's one of the elite linebackers for IDP.
90.2 PFF. We were talking about bad numbers, 55, Kyler Murray, Zach Bond, 90.2. There it is. The ultimate litmus test right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So he's definitely a must. Not much to say there. Let's get into our bust. Our bust here. Steve, who's the bust for this Philadelphia Eagles? And this one hurts me. This one hurts.
Yeah. So just like when I did the Jets, we were talking about the AFC East. I was talking about the Jets take. This is kind of the same thing. It's really hard to find a bust on a loaded roster like this. It's really hard. So you start looking at ADP value. Who am I looking at? Nakobe Dean. If you want him in drafts right now, you got to take him late LB 30-ish. The leagues we play in, when you're starting 3 and you got to flex, that's a starter. If you're a manager and you just drafted him late as an LB30 and he's starting your flex, that's a scary spot because there's bust potential, at least for this season. It's more of me being scared of the injury than the actual player. First off, we have a rookie replacement who can cover down in camp. Then you have the recovery. The patellar tendon, that's no joke. That brings real concerns. So you include that in the possibility of, a rookie there that can take your snaps. There's going to be time that he's going to need to recover. So as a result of that, I know he's a high upside type of player, whatever, but I am not taking him as in that LB 30 spot, what have you. So, if I'm to nitpick this roster, because there's a couple of guys we could talk about, Bryce Huff's obvious, but who's drafting him? But people are still drafting Dean. People are still drafting him as an LB 30. You're crazy. Forget about it. We talked on the last podcast. There's so many guys that I can take that are being forgotten about, like Brooks and what have you, Cashman, Sherwood, and people are taking Dean. Like that's insane to me.
As somebody, and I am not comparing myself to a professional athlete. Let me just get that out of there right now. As somebody who tore their quad tendon a couple years ago, and I still every day in order to walk normally, I have to get up early, an hour before my normal wake up time, stretch, use my muscle scraping thing, go around my knee, trying to get some flexibility back in it. And I have to do that multiple times a day to like walk normally and or jog normally. Now take that to a professional athlete's level. Okay. You would think, oh, well, professional athlete should have no problem recovering from that. He's probably going to miss 3/4 of the season this year. Okay. Which is very concerning. And so the fact that it's even more, just the fact that an injury like that is so severe that a professional athlete could potentially miss the entire year, potentially, depending on how they are doing record wise. I mean, think about this, folks. This patella tendon, like, here's your leg. You know how like your leg can like go up and down? You can't do that with a torn tendon. Like literally you have to relearn how to like move your leg, let alone walk, let alone run.
Right.
I don't want to, I don't like to undersell it. This is a very devastating injury he suffered. And the fact that he has such a high ADP, go ahead and draft him because you're not going to use him anytime soon. So I'm right there with you. JT, who's a sleeper for you on the Philadelphia Eagles?
I got two guys I like. So the first guy, we've seen this team. They've been loaded on defense. We know they've been awesome. The pass rush has been outstanding. The guy is still slightly getting slept on, who I think is just prime for a breakout, is Nolan Smith Jr. I mean, a guy just talented, has had to work his way, into the lineup just because they've been so deep. I think they've let some of these veterans go, and I think they've let them go knowing that he's ready to take over a full-time role. I don't think his ADP is caught up to where he's at on this depth chart and where he's going to be. So to me, he's still a sleeper. I don't think he should be a sleeper, mind you. I wouldn't call him a sleeper, but I think looking at it, I don't think people have caught up to him yet. I think he's a sleeper. I think he's a double-digit sack guy upside for sure. For sure on this team. And with how good they are on the interior, I think it just helps them. And they keep getting better on the back end. This team was getting killed in the secondary. They've loaded up the secondary. They've gotten way better there. I think Smith is a pure pass rusher. I think that's all they're going to ask him to do, and I think that helps him in that's all he has to do. I love Nolan Smith. Again, on sleeper, sometimes he's getting considered a DLLB combo, which I freaking love. We talked about it a million times. I love when I can play the guy either spot. I love that. So Nolan Smith's my first guy. A guy who is completely being forgot about. I mean, completely forgot about is my guy right behind me, Illinois, Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown, the knee injury last year, he was making really nice strides as a rookie, playing well, got hurt last year, missed. CJ Johnson Gardner, they let him go. Let him walk. Why? Sidney Brown. I think Sidney Brown's there. I think he's healthy. I think he's ready to take over. Going to play that box safety role. I really like him. I think he's a legit player. I mean, a guy was taken in the third round in 2023. So he's now going to, played a little bit as a rookie, got hurt last year. I think year 3, I think he's ready to bust out in the secondary. He's literally free right now. Yeah. No one is taking him. I mean, he's absolutely free. And I think he's going to get really good numbers as the box safety on this team. To me, if you're drafting late in a draft, if you've done the Steve thing and you're going, hey, I'm just gonna wait on DB, I'm gonna load up on backer and D end, and I'm just gonna take whoever's there, and I'm gonna take the high end guys. He's a high end guy. He's a guy. Here's the thing is, if he doesn't hit, there's probably 5 guys you could trade him out for pretty easily off the waiver wires. But I think he's going to hit. I like Sidney Brown a ton. Twin brother of Chase Brown, running back of the Bengals. I think he's going to have a big year this year. I think that's why they let him move on. Blankenship had really solid numbers as the free safety last year. I think Brown takes a lot of those stats this year as the box safety. So he's the guy, I'm just telling you, flyer pick into the draft. I've waited on safety. Oh, I need a backup safety. Throw Sidney Brown in the mix. And if you're in a dynasty league, there's a pretty good chance he's on waiver wires right now. Go grab him.
All right.
You know what's funny, Jorge? And we talked about this on the last podcast. JT loves that 2023 defensive back rookie class. You know, it had Brian Branch. You know, it had Battle. It had Christian Gonzalez. It had Forbes. It had Ringo. Remember that loaded class? You like a lot of these, Jaden Hicks. You like a lot of these next year players, don't you?
Yeah, year 2, 3 on some of these guys is when they're ready to hit. You know, not everybody. I mean, people forget Troy Polamalu basically never saw the field as a rookie for the Steelers.
That's
like
right.
People forget stuff like that. Like these guys taken in the second, third round, they're not necessarily taken to play that year. They're planning on, like, these teams see down the line. They're going to play year 2, year 3, and they're going to bust out. That's my favorite time to buy young DBs is year 2 or 3 when they haven't already hit. ADP is
I
so
love
depressed.
year 2 breakouts. Mm-hmm. Hey, you're mentioning the draft class. I was thinking of this too, you know, when you were talking about the Eagles as a whole, you know, everybody talks about the shiny free agents they pick up, the Zach Bonds, what have you. But look at all those second rounders they hit on last couple of years. Cooper DeJean, Devontae Smith, Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell. That's how you're going to win Super Bowls.
Yep, 100%. All right, let's get into the final team of the division, the Washington Commanders. JT, real quick, who is your must for the Washington Commanders this year?
I think the guy that is just on everybody's radar, Frankie Louvu. He's been the guy. He's the linebacker you want, especially if you're in a high-impact league. He gets tackles, but he also rushes the passer. He gets sacks. He gets QB hits. He's the top guy on this defense. He's the guy you want. Love Frankie Louvu.
What about like an attack? What about like in a balanced scoring?
I think he's solid in any league. I think if they're in sack league, high sack leagues, other things, because he does a little bit of everything, I think he's a little more valuable. I think he's a little less valuable in just heavy tackle leagues, just because Bobby Wagner's still there and he does get a lot of tackles as well. So, but if I was just going to say straight out guy I need on the Commanders, Louvu is probably the guy. It's probably getting drafted a little higher than I would like to take him in a lot of spots, but he's been good.
All right. Let me go to my bust here. It's newly acquired strong safety Will Harris. Going back to 2019, he's only had 2 seasons where he's had a plus 60 PFF grade. That was 2022 with a 66.9 and last year with a 60.1. His other years in coverage, okay, because this is what kind of is important here. 41.4, 41.7, 55.5, 55.4. Run defense, only 2 seasons above 60. The rest, 55, 51, 51, 59. Like, there's nothing good about this. In fact, I'd rather have Quan Martin on the other side.
I was just going to say, Jorge, 100%. Yeah. I would rather have Quan Martin. What team would you rather have the deep safety? This is one of the only teams. I'd much rather have Quan Martin on my team than him. 100%. Great call.
100%.
I think you can argue, dart throw, sleeper, bust, because like everyone's looking for the Philosopher's Stone. Everyone's looking for the Fountain of Youth. They're already missing Jeremy Chin, aren't they? This guy's going to actually go in and play Jeremy Chin. He doesn't play like Jeremy Chin. So this could be a fool's gold pick as well. So I like that, Jorge.
Thank you. Who is your sleeper? Who are some sleepers here you got here, Steve?
So I just realized this whole show, we're playing basic IDP here. We don't have any of the unique leagues. So I have 2 sleepers for a DT required league and a CP cornerback required league. Because you can go, this is another one of those teams, JT. You can say the whole team's a sleeper. You know what I mean? So let me start with a DT here. Jerzon Newton. Do you remember when we looked at this DT rookie class? It was heavily debated. It was going to be him or Byron Murphy. I had Newton all along early in the rookie scouting, but an injury happened before the combine, kind of took him out of the running. So the Commanders drafted him in the second round, but he had a first round pedigree. Last year, a lot of people may be out on him. And I know a lot of people don't play DT leagues, but if you do, this guy started out with 0 snaps week 1. By the end of the year, he was playing a healthy 50% of snaps. And he was turning that into tackles. He posted 12 tackles across his final 3 regular season games. So the idea here is now it's 2025. Newton's going to get a full-time role. He has a massive hole to fill. Jonathan Allen's gone now, right? I get it. And I got him as a sleeper, much like my other guys. If you look at the depth chart, Kinlaw is in front of him. But who the heck is starting Kinlaw on IDP? I know I'm not. So technically he's in front of him, but Newton's a massive talent with the draft capital. We don't talk draft capital enough. They didn't draft this guy in the second round for him to just sit. You know what I mean? But no one's drafting Kinlaw. Newton's going to be your guy. DT required leagues, or if your leagues are deep enough and you have a bench spot for DL, he's probably gonna explode this year, much like a lot of these 2-year players will.
I have to be honest here. I can't be happier. We've just talked about 3 Illinois players back to back. I love it. 3. Johnny Newton is an absolute stud. People are sleeping on him. If it wasn't for the injury in the pre-draft process, he would have been a top 15 pick last year. It would have been top 15. Had a foot injury, missed a ton of the pre-draft workouts, couldn't do anything at the combine, fell to the second round, was an absolute steal in the second round for the Commanders. Got off to a slow start because of the injury. Jonathan Allen moved him out. This guy can stop the run, but he has a motor that never stops. He can pass rush from the inside, defensive tackle leagues. He is probably my favorite buy in defensive tackle start leagues, especially in leagues that give premium for tackles and sacks from defensive tackle, because he's a guy who can do everything from the inside, from the 3 tech. I love him. I think he's highly underrated. I mean, I don't think people know what they're getting from him. To me, he could be that next elite defensive tackle that rushes the passer. He's an absolute buy.
Who's your second sleeper here, Steve?
So this is going to require a little bit of conspiracy theory. You know, you ever see that that GIF of was it Charlie Day of Always Sunny in Philadelphia? He has the wall, the pinup, and all the conspiracy. That's me right now with this guy. So this is a lot of rational thought. I just wanted to end the show on a bang. For those looking for dart throws deeper, I try to go a little deeper. So this is a CB for CB required leagues. I'm thinking a lot about Mike Sainristil. The reason I'm doing that, and I'm just thinking, and I'm watching camp and how this is unfolding. We had the arrival of Marshawn Lattimore last season, and they just drafted rookie Trey Amos from this year's draft. Both of those guys have a prime opportunity to play on the outside. That would put Mike essentially to thrive in that slot role, which we all crave. We know we got good play out of him last year. But if Amos develops as, you know, that consistent starter and Lattimore is on the other side, this guy can be locked up in that role and emerge as a huge playmaker in IDP, especially if you are playing in those cornerback required leagues. Now, this is where I'm not sure between fact or fiction and my conspiracy comes to a close. I'm looking at camp. I'm looking at OTAs. I'm looking at camp battles. Right now, Sainristil is actually playing, you know, alongside Deebo Samuel, who's playing that role right now. And he's trying to take cues to take over that slot role. That's what I'm seeing in camps as we're looking at this. So again, this is a long play here. But if you are in CB required leagues and you're just not sure, consider this guy. This is the deepest of the sleepers out there.
Absolutely love this. I'll throw in real quick because I know we got to go. Jorge. He actually played some of the slot last year until their outside corners got so bad they had to move him back outside.
Right.
But he was playing slot early and he was really productive.
Right.
I had him on a lot of teams. I think they brought in these outside guys to move him back in. He is Kenny Moore Jr. He is Kenny Moore from the Colts. That's who he's going to end up being. He's going to be a playmaker from the nickel slot position. I really like him. I think he ends up back inside. And like you said, Steve, if you're in a quarterback start league, he's a great spot. I have him in 3 cornerback start leagues, and I'm expecting the fact that he's going to end up being that slot corner and slide back inside with the Lattimore signing, and they signed with the Amos draft. Plus, they signed a couple other guys, so I think he's going to move back inside, and I think that's where he's actually thrives. I think that's where he's going to be awesome. I love that as a deep sleeper.
And he's starting there right now in OTA, so take a shot.
Well, there we go. That wraps up our NFC East IDP Fantasy Football Division preview here with Steve Hungarter from RPO Football and Fantasy Six Pack and the IDP Hunter podcast. Dude, it is always a privilege to share the screen with you. You are one of the great minds in IDP Fantasy Football. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Canton at the Butkiss Kings Classic Division Draft. Just guys, ladies and gentlemen, just give IDP Hunter a follow. This guy knows his stuff. He's constantly putting out content. Great actionable advice. Just thank you very much for joining us for both the AFC East as well as this NFC East division preview. And you, like I said, love to have you for the rest of the division previews. And if you don't show up, I will be surprised. Let's put it like that.
I'll be there. It's going to take a lot for me not to, but thanks for having me come on the show.
Absolutely. JT, any parting words before we get out of here?
Just always great to have Steve on the show. Love doing these podcasts. I know we ran a little long, but we got fired up tonight about a bunch of these things, and we talked about a ton of guys I love. So that throwing in that extra little bit of action for you guys. But yeah, great. Thanks for checking us out. Follow us on Shoot the Gap. Appreciate it.
When you talk about defensive tackles and you get fired up, you're in the right place, right?
That's right. Apologies to the Fourth and Frames crew. They're up next. We ran a little bit over. Both of these podcasts, AFC East and NFC East, will be up in a few hours. Therefore, when you're driving to wherever you're going to tomorrow or just sitting around or just hanging out, you can listen to these podcasts if you're catching the tail end. Don't forget to follow us everywhere at Fantasy and Frames. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Head over to fantasyandframes.com. Rankings, articles, you name it. We got it all coming your way. And so for Steve, for JT, I'm Jorge. We'll see you next week.